Imagine waking up one morning to a life that feels perfect, a beautiful young wife, a luxurious home, and a future full of promise. But that illusion shattered in an instant. I caught my wife with another man, right there in our bedroom, the betrayal cutting deeper than any knife. My world crumbled as rage and heartbreak collided. The anger drove me to confront him, to confront her. This isn't just a story of infidelity, it's a tale of revenge, of a man pushed to his limits, of a love turned toxic. This is my story, my nightmare. Welcome to the dark side of paradise. I swear, Vince, I made more money working as an assistant in wrestling after high school than I do now. My brother Tommy and I were at my kitchen table going over his money problems for what felt like the 100th time. He hasn't been doing well since his divorce 2 years ago. Okay, Tommy, let's go over it again. You earn $52,000 a year after taxes, which is about $4,000 a month. First, you have to pay $500 a month in child support for Tommy Jr. and little Frank. So after that, you have $3,000 a month left. I don't have a problem with that, Tommy interrupted. Anything for my sons. That was true. Tommy's ex-wife, Brandi, had done everything she could to keep him away from the boys. Whenever it was Tommy's weekend, there was always an excuse. When he coached their little league team, Brandi pulled the kids off the team, saying it hurt their grades. When he helped at his son's school during lunch, Brandi called our boss. The radio claimed Tommy was missing work, but old man Alvarez, who owned our company, said he was paying for Tommy's hours and even let him use the work van. Mr. Alvarez made it a rule to let workers do volunteer work, and I helped out too. Pay attention, I told Tommy. Next, there's the $1,000 a month you have to pay Brandi for support. Now you have $2,000 left. That is such BS, Tommy shouted, slapping the table. Brandi was almost done with her nursing degree when we got married. Why do I have to pay her? I worked hard so she could stay home with our kids. Why can't she get her degree and find a job? No. She cheated on me, and I'm the one paying. Why? She keeps messing around. We went over this already. The payments are for 6 years. It gives Brandi time to get skills for a job. It's normal when one person hasn't worked for a long time. You are 2 years into that 6-year thing. Tommy leaned back in his chair. 6 years? She could finish her degree in less than 4. Plus, she hasn't even taken a class yet. I tried to continue. Then you have your house payments, taxes, and all that, which adds another $1,000 a month, so now you have about $1,000 left. That's great, Tommy said, looking up. Brandi picks a big house that I work hard for, and I pay for it while I have to sleep in my car. Tommy, you do not sleep in your car, but I get it. Your apartment isn't great. Brandi can stay in the house until little Frank turns 18. Then you can sell it. Yeah, but she gets half. I'm paying for the house, and she gets free rent and half of what it sells for. How is that fair? The court just wants a stable place for the kids, which is why you have to keep paying for the house. Randy gets half when you sell because she is supposed to take care of the house while you handle the mortgage, insurance, and taxes. That's even more BS, Tommy replied. Every time something needs fixing, I get a call. I'd tell Brandi to forget it, but it's one of the few times I can see the boys without a fight. Tommy, out of the last $1,000, you need about $300 a month for health and dental insurance for Tommy Jr. and Frank. Nothing is more important than their health. But I have 2 problems. First, why do I have to pay for Brandi's health care? Because our company's family plan costs the same for the boys with or without Brandi. The judge said you have to cover her for the same time as the other payments. That's easy for him to say, Tommy replied. What makes me mad is Brandi uses that insurance against me. When it's my weekend, the boys are always too sick. It takes a month for the court to hear me, and then I have to drag Brandi in front of the judge. Brandi claims all these doctor visits I pay for as proof that the boys were too sick to see me. Seriously, Vince, it's just sniffles and sore throats. If they cough the week I'm supposed to get them, Brandi rushes them to the doctor. The only time I see the boys is when they need new shoes or school supplies. Where is my child support money going? And what about half of my 401k that Brandi took? How is that fair? Tommy, no one ever said the courts are fair, just blind. So I'm left with $600 a month or $150 a week. I might as well quit and forget it all. Just then, my wife Lisa walked in with 2 grocery bags. How did quitting work out for you last time? Lisa chimed in, hearing the end of our talk. Tommy just looked down. A year after the divorce, he quit his job and stopped making any payments. That didn't go well for Tommy. Our state has strict laws for parents who don't pay child support, allowing them to be jailed for 60 days up to a year. Just 2 months after Tommy's strike, he ended up in county jail. He was stuck there for 12 days before he agreed to follow the court orders. Luckily, because Tommy was great at fixing things, old man Alvarez took him back. Tommy was a natural when it came to technology and repairs. He could fix anything: drywall, concrete, home repair, you name it. Even the more experienced engineers came to him when they were stuck, even without a degree. Tommy was lucky to get his job back because he had to catch up on 2 months of payments and also pay court costs. He sighed and complained, "I had lots of company in jail, just a bunch of dads who couldn't pay child support." He used the word turnip to describe fathers who couldn't pay their bills, saying it meant you can't get money from a turnip. In fact, about 13% of the county jail was made up of these turnips. It was a kind of punishment for not paying, just like being found in contempt of court. But since it was a civil penalty, they weren't allowed to have a lawyer. Not that a lawyer would have helped Tommy much anyway. My 2 boys ran in excitedly after their mother, Lisa. They shouted, "Uncle Tommy! Uncle Tommy!" They jumped all over him, asking, "Did you bring candy? Where is the candy?" Tommy laughed and pointed to the sliding glass door that led to our backyard. Outside, a big Doberman dog was hopping up and down with excitement and whining when he saw the boys. Candy, a large black and tan male Doberman, was a dog Tommy had saved after the police found him in a bad situation. They named the dog Candy because he was used as something for pit bulls to practice on, but thankfully he survived. Candy looked rough, with one chewed-up ear and scars all over his body. But he was loyal to Tommy and loved my boys. He let them do anything and always stayed close. Tommy warned, "Boys, don't feed Candy too much," as the kids began to raid the fridge for hot dogs to share with him. While Tommy was the boys' favorite uncle, Candy was their favorite dog. Lisa opened the sliding glass door for them to rush outside. You could see Lisa was worried. "Vince, are you sure they'll be okay?" she asked. Lisa wasn't a fan of dogs and was still a bit scared of Candy. Watching Candy with our boys made her uneasy, especially since he had some scary scars and big teeth. Tommy and I exchanged glances at her concern. Lisa and I were different in many ways. She was just under 6 feet tall with light features and blue eyes. She looked like a star athlete, and her legs seemed to go on forever. She was proud of her looks and often wore outfits that showed off her figure. At 38 years old, Lisa still turned heads. Even after 12 years of marriage, I was still in awe of her. Tommy and I were both shorter, around 5'6", looking more like our Italian ancestors. I wasn't a model, but kids didn't find me scary either. Coaching my boys' sports teams helped keep me fit, though the past year has been harder since I passed my 40th birthday. Lisa was very strong-willed and didn't back down when she believed in something. I was more relaxed and thought life was too short to worry about little things. We were used to how different we looked together. Tommy admired Lisa for telling him the truth when she found out Brandi cheated on him. That night, as Lisa came out of the bathroom rubbing lotion on her hands, she asked me, "How much is it this time?" I replied, $100. Tommy Jr. and Frankie need new shoes. Lisa got into bed wearing a nightgown I liked. "What is Tommy planning to do now?" she asked. Tommy often borrowed money for his kids, but he always paid me back in some way. "Tommy has done a lot of work on my house in the past 2 years," I said. "He put in that ceiling fan you wanted and installed a new hot water heater. I was good with numbers, but not with tools." "We got the better deal," I noted. Then I added, "Tommy didn't get a good deal with Brandi." Lisa surprised me with her next words. "Well, it's not all Brandi's fault." I sat up in bed, shocked. "What do you mean? Brandi cheating on my brother isn't her fault?" Lisa frowned before she spoke. "Brandi was wrong to cheat. There's no good reason to cheat. But your brother overreacted." "Overreacted?" I said. "The court usually gives custody to mothers. Lots of studies show kids are better off with their mothers. Say what you want about Brandi, but she was a good mom." Lisa, studies also show kids do best living in a family with both a mom and dad. How does Brandi breaking up the family make her a good mother? She didn't even want a divorce. Tommy did, I argued. Brandi was not sorry and wanted Tommy to forgive her until she felt ready to come back. Is Tommy better off now? I asked. It was only 3 guys and one of them was just a flirt, Lisa replied. Brandi told me she wanted to get back with Tommy soon. Well, that should make it all better for Tommy, I said. Vince, don't be so dramatic, she replied. It was just about bad times and trouble based on what Brandi told me. Remember, after Vince Jr. was born, I had some problems and felt sick to my stomach for almost 2 months. I knew you had needs, so I told you it was okay to find someone else. I even looked around at some of the ladies at Tony's school to help out. Lisa, I love you, but sometimes you drive me up the wall. I think back to that one time. Your feelings were all over the place after Vince Jr. was born, so I didn't take you seriously. Also, our marriage vows meant that we would not be with anyone else. Plus, we said we'd stick together in sickness and health. I take those vows to heart. You said there's no excuse for being unfaithful. Are you now saying there are times when it's okay? Because I don't. I still believe cheating is wrong. But I do understand a little of what Brandi felt. Brandi felt old and thought she was just a mother and Tommy's wife. I don't agree with her cheating, but I can see why she did it. Lisa, I feel like I'm going to explode. How can you think it's okay that Brandi cheated, but also believe it's wrong? Well, if Brandi had talked to Tommy about how she felt, it wouldn't have been cheating. Maybe they could have worked it out. If she had just been open, there wouldn't have been any cheating. It's about solving problems, not running away from them. And if Brandi wanted to have fun in different ways, Tommy would have been okay with it. But cheating with another guy is a whole different story. Tommy made his choice and has to deal with it now. Again, we need to think. Is Tommy better off now? What Brandi did was wrong because she didn't tell him. But it's done, and nothing can change that. Tommy has to focus on his future and his family. Is he doing better now than if he had just let a few careless moments slide that didn't really hurt him, but boosted Brandi's spirits? All right, Lisa, how many times should Tommy allow this? 3, 5, 10? That's silly, Vince. It's different for women than for men. I noticed some gray hairs last week and it really got me down. Women are always judged by how they look. What's the big deal? You always look good. If a few gray hairs bother you, go to your favorite salon and pick a hair color you like. It's more than that. After a certain age, women become invisible. No one sees us, no one wants us. It feels like we aren't even there. It shouldn't matter, but it does. I know men and women are becoming more equal than in our parents' time, but until a woman can stroll around with a little extra weight and some thinning hair and still feel attractive, things won't really change. So cheating to feel equal or improve a marriage, it's not just about the acts. It's not cheating if both partners know about it. You and I are great together, and you know that. It's about wanting to be admired. It's about the thrill of something new. Lisa, you know that Tommy loved Brandi before the split. And our kids and I are your biggest fans, and we adore you. But you were saying cheating would make things better. I paused for a moment. Lisa, do you have something you want to tell me about the past? I could feel my heartbeat quicken. Lisa moved closer and said, Vince, I have never cheated on you and never will. Lisa knows how to push my buttons. Lisa leaned in and said, just think, Tommy is missing all the good times with Brandi that we have. All because of a few silly dates from the past. He can't change it, Lisa. You're scaring me. I turned over, trying to sleep. Brandi is asking Tommy for so much money. He is going to run out soon. You can't get blood from a stone. I turned off the light. 3 weeks later, I pulled into my driveway late one night and saw 2 cars parked by the curb. There were a few guys and girls around the cars, dressed up like they were from the university. I went inside and saw a big guy sitting on my couch watching TV and drinking one of my beers. Can I help you, son? I asked the giant. He looked as tall as me even while sitting down. His arms were as big as my legs. No, I'm good, said the giant. You must be Lisa's husband. Dude, you are lucky to have a woman like that every night. He set the beer down. I'm going to be her date tonight. I put my briefcase down. Did you just say you were Lisa's date tonight? Yeah, man, that Lisa is one hot lady, but she really made me jump through a lot of hoops for this date. I had to do an online interview, a medical test, and 2 meetups at the mall that felt like job interviews. I was skiing when she picked me. Dude, I hope it's worth it. Tell me, man, she's good, right? Good isn't the word I would use. Excuse me? I took off upstairs, taking the steps quickly. I found Lisa in our bedroom, putting on her makeup. Lisa was in tight jeans, high heels, and a snug shirt. Lisa, what is the big guy doing in our living room? And what's this about a date? Lisa didn't even look away from the mirror as she put on her lipstick. His name is Randy. He's on the university wrestling team and studying communications. Lisa turned to me. I'm sorry you got home late, but I wanted to finish before Randy got here. I got rushed, so I'll give you the quick version. Sit down for a minute. Lisa patted the bed, and I sat down on our flowered comforter. Vince, I'm not getting any younger. I've been a good wife for over 12 years and a mother to our children for more than 10. I really need this in my life right now. You have to understand this isn't about you or the kids. So you were going to meet up with Randy? I could barely talk. My heart was racing. No, what Randy did was wrong. This isn't cheating because I'm being honest about everything. We talked about this last month. Lisa, you are splitting hairs. This is wrong and cheating no matter what you say. I'm asking you, as your husband of 12 years and the father of our kids, to stop this. I think you need to see a doctor. I'm not mad at you. My face was hot and I was starting to sweat. Finally, Lisa looked at me. It's too late now. Randy is already here. I said, Lisa, it's not too late until you walk out that door. I'll handle Randy. With that, I left the bedroom and ran down the stairs. My heart was racing for Randy. I said his name and he stood up. Randy was much taller than me. There's been a misunderstanding. Lisa isn't going out with you. Randy looked confused at first, but then he seemed to get it. Hey man, I understand. Lisa said you were fine with this, but I said, I'm not okay with it and I need you to leave now. Randy replied, I'm sorry you and Lisa are fighting, but that's between you two. Lisa and I have an arrangement, and I'm staying until she tells me otherwise. I said, Randy, my name is the only one on the house title. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. I grabbed Randy's arm, but it felt like grabbing a tree. It's time to go. He pulled his arm away. Just then, Lisa came down the stairs. Vince, stop that. Randy, please wait in your car. I'll be right out. Randy hesitated for a moment, but then walked out the door. Later, man. Lisa faced me. I'm sorry you're upset, and I see this isn't going as we thought. She took a deep breath. We talked about this, and I thought you would understand. Lisa pointed a finger at me. If you're still up when I get home, I'll make it up to you. I muttered, no thanks. I felt like I might have a heart attack. Lisa, what have I done that made you think I would be okay with this? My voice was tight and Lisa could see I was angry. Fine, she said, throwing up her hands. Vince, you win. Let me go out this one time and you'll see it changes nothing. If you're still upset when I get back, I won't go out again until we talk it over. I stood in front of the door trying to stay calm. Lisa, here's my offer. Stop this. Go back upstairs and we'll see a doctor and a therapist tomorrow. But if you walk out that door, we're done. Your choice, your kids and I pointed to the door, or that. Oh, don't be so dramatic. Lisa picked up her purse. You love me and the kids too much. I know you don't want to end up like your brother. Lisa checked her hair in the mirror. Besides, I don't even know if anything will happen tonight. Even if it does, Randy is safe and I'll make him use protection. Are you happy now? I said, no, I'm not happy. And if you leave through that door, you won't be part of my future. But you're partly right. I do love my kids, and I don't want to end up like my brother. But if you walk out that door, my love for you will leave too. Trust me, Lisa. You will regret this. Lisa walked past me, opened the door, and turned back to me. Randy told me he knows a girl he thinks is cute, but if you're going to be like this, forget it. Lisa stepped out the door. The kids are in bed, and your dinner is in the microwave. You have my phone if something comes up. With that, she left and closed the door. I sat down and tried to calm my racing heart while I thought about everything. This felt unreal. How could this be happening? Eventually, I snapped out of it and started to sort through my choices. I was surprised that my feelings for Lisa had disappeared. It said you can't just stop loving someone, but there was nothing there for her now. No love, no hate, just nothing. What I felt most was fear of losing my kids. For a moment, I thought about letting Lisa go. Maybe I could keep my family that way, but I knew I could never accept her going out with other guys. That wasn't who she used to be, and it wasn't who I married. I felt fear about losing my kids, and it pushed away all other thoughts. I kept imagining a future like my brothers, fighting for every moment with my sons, missing important times in their lives. I thought about many options, from acting out violently to making complicated plans. But all of them ended with me in jail or Lisa getting the kids. Every path led to divorce, and I would lose my boys. Lisa had really put me in a tough spot. Then, a strange idea came to me. It was such an unusual idea that it might surprise Lisa and change things. First, I checked on the boys. They were sleeping peacefully. I went down the steps and stood in front of the hallway mirror. This is going to hurt, I told myself, but I reminded myself it was for my kids. 3 minutes later, I was finished. My shirt was torn, and I had scratches on my chest and face. My nose was bleeding, and my lip was too. My forehead was getting swollen. I hit my forehead against the mirror and broke it into a big spiderweb of cracks. My forehead was bleeding a lot, like a nasty cut. I remembered this from when I used to wrestle. The forehead bleeds a lot, but usually doesn't get hurt badly. I had made sure not to hurt my fists while hitting myself. I called 911. "What is your emergency?" the operator asked. "I need help. My wife and her boyfriend attacked me," I replied. "My kids are at home, and I'm scared they are coming back." "Okay, I have your address, and I'll send a patrol car right away. Are you safe? Do you feel in danger?" the operator asked. "Yes, I feel in danger. Please hurry," I urged. I quickly texted my brother Tommy to come as fast as he could. While I was talking on the house phone, I locked the doors. I did not know when they would come back. "Do you need medical help? Did you pass out?" the operator asked. "Yes, I need an ambulance. I must have been knocked out. I can't remember anything except my wife and that guy hitting me," I said. "I think they kicked me a few times, too." "Help is on the way. Stay calm and keep talking to me," the operator told me. Tommy must have been nearby because he arrived first. He looked shocked, but I told him I would answer his questions later. Right now, I needed him to take care of the kids and take pictures of my injuries. Tommy started taking pictures with both his phone and my camera when the police and ambulance got there. My dog Candy was not happy about all the noise, so Tommy had to put him in the boys' room where they were still asleep. It was about 3:30 in the morning when I got out of the taxi in front of my broken home. The doctor had fixed my forehead at the hospital, and a kind detective had taken my statement. What happened? I thought as I looked at my house. There were tire marks all over the lawn. The bushes were crushed, and the railing on the front porch was broken. A police car was parked in the driveway. I opened the front door, and Candy ran to me, wagging his tail and trying to lick my face. While I petted Candy, my brother Tommy called out, "Vince, we're in the kitchen." I followed him into the kitchen with Candy close behind. I saw a young female officer sitting at the table talking on a cell phone and writing in a notebook. Then I saw Tommy. He was holding an ice pack to his right eye. The corner of his lip was cut, and he had cotton swabs in his nose. His clothes were torn in several places, and he was missing a shoe. Tommy saw me looking and grinned crookedly. "What are you looking at, Vince? You missed all the fun." He lifted the ice pack. "Want to trade bandages? I hope I don't look as bad as you." It took me a moment to ask, "Tommy, what happened?" Tommy relaxed in his chair. "You wouldn't believe the night we had. It started with the officer here." He pointed at the female officer who waved at me. "She told me about your wife and her boyfriend," he said. "We were sitting here drinking coffee, waiting for Lisa to come home until all hell broke loose," Tommy continued. The officer said that in fights like this, one person has to go to jail for 24 hours to cool down. At about 2 a.m., Lisa came home and met the officer at the door, but she had her boyfriend with her. His name is Randy. Anyway, after the officer explained everything, Lisa tried to resist when the officer asked her to put her hands behind her back. Then everything went crazy. Lisa started to fight back and the boyfriend got involved. Then I jumped in. "As you can see," Tommy said, pointing at his eye, "that didn't go well." Tommy described how my dog, Candy, came charging through the door. Candy flew in like a little tornado of fur. Moose and Squirrel both got bit a few times before Candy snagged onto Moose's private parts. "He won't be comfortable for a while," Tommy laughed. By then, the officer was calling for backup on the radio. More trouble showed up when Moose's friends came running from their car to help. I exclaimed, Are you serious? Hold on, Tommy said. It gets even better. Your neighbor, Marie Rodriguez, has a son in the army. He and some friends were driving home and saw me getting beat up. They ran across the yard like an army unit. Those guys were throwing punches like mad. Plus, Candy was biting anything that got too close. I just sat there amazed. Then more police arrived. Metro PD, County Sheriff, and even Highway Patrol, Tommy added excitedly. They all came in swinging billy clubs. It was like a scene from a big battle for 10 minutes. At one point, even I got hit while trying to pull Candy out of the chaos. Finally, the police managed to control the situation, and everyone was either cuffed or on the ground. The officer and I went around sorting out who was good and who was bad. All the kids and Lisa were in trouble now. When I heard the word kids, it brought me back to reality. Where are the boys? I shouted, jumping up. Calm down, Tommy said, pointing at my chair. Your little one slept through it all. At that moment, the female officer closed her phone and notebook. Mr. Fontana, I'm glad you're here now. I hope you're feeling better. She put her things away. Your spouse and friends will probably be in court tomorrow if you want to arrange bail. Tommy snorted and the officer gave him a stern look. Your spouse is likely facing charges for resisting arrest and hurting a police officer, along with some other things. The officer moved toward the door. Did they tell you about the restraining order process? Yes, I replied. They said I need to be at the courthouse in room 564 at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. She turned back to Tommy but kept talking to me. I'm sorry about your situation. Please call me if you need anything. She then walked out of the kitchen toward the front door. Tommy tossed the ice pack into the sink. What now, Vince? No sleep? You can take the guest bedroom. Later in the morning, I'll take the kids to school and then go to court. Don't forget an early stop at Home Depot for locks. I want new deadbolt locks on every door and to secure every opening in this place. It was a busy morning. Tommy headed out to be at Home Depot when they opened. I went online to close all our bank accounts, paid off, and then canceled our credit cards and cell phone plan. It was a tough day. I got the kids fed and sent them to school. Then I went to the bank to check our account balances. After that, I went to another bank for new accounts and credit cards. The hearing for the restraining order went quickly once I was in front of the judge. The order was only good for 30 days before I had to renew it, but it kept Lisa 100 yards away from me. As for the kids in the house, Lisa could only get her things if I was not there and with a court officer. Next, I had to see a divorce lawyer. I chose the same lawyer that Tommy's ex-wife Brandi had. He was known to be tough, but now he was my tough guy. I wanted the papers served to Lisa before she got out of jail. He told me it wasn't enough time. I was surprised when my lawyer started talking about looking into a separation first to cool things down. Maybe they could even go to couples therapy. Was this the same guy who fought hard for my brother? I wanted to be strong and go for everything. Let me play devil's advocate for a moment, my lawyer said. We don't even know if your wife cheated on you. Does that matter? You have no proof. Do you have pictures? Witnesses? He looked at me. Did you hear anyone say they saw her with another man? All you know is that she left with a group of kids. Maybe they were going to a football game. It's not football season. Yeah, but what? A game lasts until 2 a.m.? He took a breath. I'm not saying you don't have a strong case with the assault charges and restraining order. You have a better chance for custody than Lisa, but you never know what a judge wants. The judge might think it's just your word against hers and no one wins. Do you want your kids to grow up without one parent? Yeah, but I don't want to end up like my brother. Maybe see his kid every other month and live like he has no home. My lawyer leaned over his desk. You might still end up like that. This state doesn't assign blame. Unless she's in jail, you have to split everything 50-50. I'll do what you want, but the courts favor mothers. You have a better chance than most, but is there a chance that you two can work things out? He rested his hands together. Just do it, I said, grabbing my checkbook for his fee. Lisa got out 2 days later. I didn't know who paid her bail. A bail bond company called me. Lisa wanted the house as collateral for her bail. I told them that wasn't going to happen, and I would fight any such deal. I packed her car with as much of her things as I could fit and parked it 100 yards down the street. The keys and title were in the glove box. After that, my phone was filled with Lisa's messages. I listened to the first few, They were full of claims about how she hadn't cheated on me. She said nothing happened. She could explain everything. She was shocked about my injury and thought I had gone too far. It was all a mistake, a misunderstanding. There were no tears, no sobbing. Lisa was still the same. I knew she thought that if she explained her side, everything would be okay. She was right that she knew me well after more than 10 years, but I also knew her just as well. She would try to reach me through the kids. As I walked from the school parking lot to the cafeteria for my duties, Lisa surprised me. Randy, who we called Moose, hurried up to me from behind a pillar. Randy was moving slowly with a slight limp, a reminder from my brother's dog. When Lisa got close enough, she started talking. "Vince, be reasonable. There was no cheating." "Hang on," said Randy. "You need to drop the charges. I never hurt you. It was no big deal. This jail situation will ruin my scholarship." Lisa was talking over him, and soon they were both yelling, "No divorce! I still love you! Work this out!" "Stop!" I shouted, holding up a small recorder. "I need you both to step back from me." I pointed at Randy. "Okay, Moose, you're out on bail for hurting someone, and now you're making me feel scared." I pointed to Lisa. "Plus, you're breaking a court order that says you can't come near me." "Come on, stop being so dramatic," Lisa said, trying to hold my arm. "I don't care about what some useless court wrote on a piece of paper. You need to come with me so we can sort this out." Moose, whose real name is Randy, might study communication, but he didn't seem to get the idea of a recording device. He said, "Dude, if this messes up my ride, I'll kill you." I had to hide my smile as I turned and ran back to the family minivan with Lisa and Moose chasing after me. I pointed the key at the minivan and pressed the button to open the sliding doors. Did you know that you can hire off-duty police officers as security, even bodyguards? The police are so organized they have a form on their website where you can pay for their services with a credit card. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth it. When 4 big police officers came out of the minivan, Moose was quiet and scared as they put him in handcuffs and read him his rights. I think Lisa finally saw I wasn't going to listen to her excuses. Lisa was a little less calm, but still strong as she said, "Vince, is this what you want? Your children's mother in handcuffs? A divorce? Fine. I'll take the house, your 401k, the kids, everything. You better start saving for your kid's 21st birthday because after this, that's the next time you'll see them. I'm going to take everything from you." She went on like that while we waited for the police car to arrive. I just nodded and made sure the recorder wouldn't run out of space. You know the saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend"? Well, that turned out to be true. I was shocked when Lisa got out on bail the next day, and the person who paid was none other than Tommy's ex-wife, Brandi. I think Brandi found it amusing that the money I lent Tommy for alimony was used to bail out Lisa. Now, Lisa was staying with Brandi in Tommy's house. Tommy and his new girlfriend, Candy, moved into my house. My boys were confused about why their mom was gone. I told them she was visiting her Aunt Flo. It was the best excuse I could come up with quickly. But the change from their mom to Uncle Tommy and his dog, Candy, seemed to make them happy. Lisa was fighting the divorce and trying to get the restraining order removed, but she was having trouble because she didn't have enough money for a lawyer. Lawyers want to be paid, and my lawyer was making sure Lisa couldn't get any cash. Lisa had to rely on Brandi, but that didn't last long. Tommy came into my office one day. "Vince, I just wanted to let you know I'm going on disability and won't be at work." I asked, "Tommy, are you okay? What's wrong?" He said, "Well, after that fight at your house, I've been dizzy and have trouble standing. That disability insurance you talked me into is paying me 66% of my salary." Then Tommy winked at me. "Did you know that in our state, disability isn't counted for alimony? Also, child support and divorce terms can change if one partner becomes disabled." Tommy sat down. "Let's see how Brandi handles some money problems." Not long after Tommy's check didn't come, Brandi made her move. Within a month, she was in court, and it didn't go well for her. The judge wasn't happy with Brandi for not having a job or going to school. Her maintenance payments were stopped, and her child support was cut too. Brandi was also told she had to take over the house payments until Tommy got a full-time job again. A week later, I was surprised to see Brandi at my door with Tommy Jr. and little Frank. "Uncle Vince, is Vince and Tony home?" my 2 nephews asked as they entered. "Sure, boys, they're in the backyard. Go play." The boys dashed through the house. Brandi stepped into the house and said, "Vince, I need to talk to you." Just then, Tommy's Doberman, Candy, came around the corner. The dog saw Brandi and started growling, showing his teeth. I gently pushed Brandi outside and called, "Vince! Tommy, come get Candy and bring him to the backyard." Now, Brandi and I were on the porch. "Was that really necessary, Vince?" she asked, looking frightened. "Can't you control that dog?" I said. "I appreciate you bringing the kids, but what do you want?" "Okay, Vince, I'll be direct. Lisa is staying with me, and she is really angry with you. She really misses her kids. This story you made up about her and that guy hurting you has her furious. She wants full custody, big child support payments, alimony, the house, your 401k, everything. While Lisa can argue for all that in court, it'll be hard without a lawyer. Does she have one? I heard another lawyer quit when she didn't pay." "But why do you care?" I asked. "Because your brother Tommy's medical leave is cutting into my lifestyle a lot. Here's the deal. Let's go back to the way things were. I think I can get Lisa to come back and forgive you for all your childish behavior. You just need to get Tommy back to work and making the payments the court set." "Forgive me? Lisa wants to come back? No way. I don't want that person around me," I said. "Does cheating run in your family? As for your deal, do you really want my thoughts on this? Well, even if you don't, let me share them anyway. I think you and your sister can just forget it and ask for your deal. Write it down and keep it to yourselves. Tell your sister I'm ready to stand my ground. She can do whatever she wants. You don't have a chance in court. You and your brother are two of the biggest fools. Both of you married people way out of your league. After all these years, do you really think Lisa and I are yours to control? Are you ready to throw it all away just because Lisa went out with a younger guy? Is that it? Did it hurt your pride? Let me tell you this. Lisa said nothing really happened." I looked at Brandi, raising my eyebrows. "And I should trust you both, because why? People like you seldom tell the truth. Why would I lie about Lisa's one night out in 12 years? The one night you're upset about was just a silly teenage kiss." Brandi interrupted me. I looked at her as she continued after a pause. "Okay, Lisa did say there was some light touching." Brandi hesitated again. "Maybe there was a bit more, but Lisa told me it was just over her clothes." I kept watching Brandi, who finally added, "Well, okay, maybe Lisa also did something more in the car. But it wasn't a big deal. Lisa even made him use protection for that. But that was all. No real sex happened. You can't believe Lisa would get that guy all excited and leave him without anything. Come on. Even Bill Clinton, the president you voted for twice, said that what happened in the car doesn't count as real sex. Brandi, this isn't helping the situation. Vince, you've been with Lisa for 14 years and married for 12. Once Lisa has her mindset, she won't change it. To her, what she did isn't cheating. Plus, it doesn't matter now. Lisa was let down by her date and never wanted to go out again. She was just bringing that guy home so they could both tell you nothing happened. But something did happen, and you ignored it too quickly. Lisa disrespected our family, our marriage, and me. I can't trust Lisa anymore. Even if I still care for her, without trust, there is no marriage. Lisa could have chosen between her family and her date a few times. Now I have to make my choice, and I choose my family. Vince, you can't be that clueless. If you can't get over this, you'll lose your family. Lisa will make your life terrible. All for what? Because she kissed a guy? I bet you've done worse at wild office parties. I've never been to an office party where I got a car as a gift. A kiss would have been a better surprise than a fruitcake. Thanks for the legal advice, Brandi. This talk is done. Do you want me to get your kids? Brandi turned to walk away. No thanks, Tom. You can keep them until Monday. Tell Tommy they both need new shirts for the play at school next week. What do you mean I might lose my kids? I didn't yell at my lawyer sitting across the desk. I just want you to be ready, my lawyer said. Unfortunately, we have Judge Reynolds for our case. This judge thinks mothers can do no wrong. But Lisa has a restraining order against her for hitting me. The police said she hasn't seen the kids for 3 months. Judge Reynolds doesn't care. The restraining order was not made by this court. The charges against your wife haven't gone to trial yet. So for now, Lisa is innocent. If she's convicted, we can try to change things. But right now, be prepared for bad news. This is like a bad dream, I said, sitting back in my chair. What are my chances? Not good, my lawyer replied. I have seen this judge give kids to mothers who have serious problems. He thinks we live in a perfect world, and he should have retired long ago. He's been around so long that everyone just puts up with him. The only way mothers don't get their kids in his court is if they are dead or in jail. After I left the lawyer's office, I called my brother to explain what was happening. "What will you do?" Tommy asked. "I think my only option is to run away." I switched my phone to the other ear, grabbed cash, loaded the kids in the car, and thought about heading for the border. "Vince, you can't do that. You can't put your family through that. Let me talk to Lisa. Maybe she'll agree to share custody. You can try, Tommy, but Lisa changes her mind. I need to get moving early in the morning. Vince, I have to be at my own place tonight. Don't do anything reckless. Let me talk to Lisa first. Maybe Brandi can help. Just wait until I'm there in the morning." "Okay, Tommy, I have to go." I hung up and made my way home. It was 3 a.m. when I heard her car pull into the driveway in silence. They moved quickly and whispered, but I recognized Lisa and Brandi by their shapes. They went to the front door and fumbled with the keys. I wondered if they had taken Tommy's house keys. I went to the boys' room, locked the door, and put a chair wedged against the knob. The boys were next door at Mrs. Rodriguez's house. I sat in a chair facing the door and picked up the home phone, dialing 3 numbers. 911. "What is your emergency? I have people who broke into my house. Can you send help right away? I'm sending a car now. Are you in a safe place? I am locked in my son's room. I think my wife and her friend are back to hurt me again. How long until the police get here? Stay calm, sir. They are on their way. I heard footsteps coming up the stairs and someone trying the doorknob. Oh no, it's locked. I think I heard Lisa's voice. That guy must be in there. No one is in the main bedroom." This was Brandi. Lisa stopped trying to be quiet and began banging on the door. "Open this door, Vince. You are not taking my kids. Operator, they are hitting the door. What should I do? How far are the police? Stay calm, sir. They are coming. Can you escape? Get away to any other place." The banging got louder. "No. Operator, I am on the 2nd floor and the locked door is the only way out." Both Brandi and Lisa were banging on the door now. Then one of them started kicking it. I held out the phone so the 911 operator could hear the noise. "Damn it, Vince. If I have to break this door down, I will open up. You better watch out when I get through this door." I was really scared now. It was clear in my voice as I spoke to the operator. "I am very afraid. Where are the cops? Stay calm, sir. They are on their way." Just then, one of Lisa's long legs broke through the door. "That hurt. I will finish you." "Operator, they have broken through the door. What do I do? Where is that police car? Sir, they are almost there." Even the 911 operator sounded worried. "Do you have anything to protect yourself? A chair, desk, or anything?" They were still kicking at the door. "Sir, you need to do something to protect yourself. Help is almost there. Do something." "Okay," I said into the phone as Lisa and Brandi kicked at the door. Their shoes turned small holes into bigger ones. I put the phone on the floor next to the door. Taking a deep breath to stop my shaking, I picked up my shotgun. I hadn't fired it since before my dad passed away. I wondered if the shells would work. One way or another, I was going to end this now. A part of the door was just kicked away. I cocked the shotgun, aimed it, and pulled both triggers. The loud bang echoed in the room and made my ears ring. I coughed and tried to clear the smoke from my vision in the small room. It felt like a long time, but when my hearing came back, I heard sirens in the distance and the operator's voice on the phone yelling, "Sir, are you there? Sir, are you there? Sir, please answer. Are you there?" I coughed again before picking up the phone. "Send ambulances. We need help." After that, I dropped the phone on the floor again. The door was badly damaged. I could hear moaning beyond the door. I got up and unlocked it, slowly opening what was left of it. Lisa and Brandi were lying on the ground. One of Brandi's feet was injured badly. Both of their legs were hurt and bleeding. At the last minute, I had lowered the gun from chest level to knee level. Still, Lisa had a bad cut on her face where a piece of the door had hit her. The police rushed into the house with their guns out. I dropped my shotgun and raised my hands. One officer put handcuffs on me while 2 others helped Brandi and Lisa. As I was taken down the steps, I saw paramedics bringing stretchers up the stairs. I was held in a cell for the next day until Tommy arranged for my release. I had a break-in. The same assistant state attorney who handled my restraining order took this case. After speaking with the detectives and reviewing the 911 call, my shooting was called justified. The charges against me were dropped. Lisa and Brandi were not given bail, but that didn't matter as they were in the hospital recovering from surgeries. Tommy moved in with his boys and their dog, Candy. My kids were happy to have their cousins around all the time. Our house became a boys' club. They complained about extra chores, but everyone joined in. As long as their homework was done, they could watch sports on TV. We had sodas in the fridge, video games in the den, and the toilet seat was always up. Our home felt like a fun place for boys, and all of my son's friends wanted to hang out there. Tommy also had a good turn when he got custody of my boys while Brandi was in the hospital. He sold his house low enough that it quickly found a buyer, even in a tough market. Tommy was excited. The house wasn't really mine anyway. Brandi picked it out when we were together, and I could barely afford it then. I didn't earn any money from the sale, but not having that burden was enough for me. Tommy was thrilled. Plus, Brandi was supposed to get half of the profits. Well, half of nothing is nothing for her. All good things must end, and for me it was the lady sitting across my table. She was a public defender handling Lisa's case. She came to my door to talk with me. "The assistant state attorney likes clear cases," she began. "But this one is complicated, like a bad onion. The more you peel away, the messier it gets." I stayed quiet and kept my hands on the table. "For example," she continued, "the night of the shooting. Both Lisa and Brandi were told you were planning to take her sons and leave the country." I tried to speak, but she raised her hand to stop me. "Yes, I saw the report. There were no signs that you and the kids were going to run away. There were no packed bags, no large amounts of cash in your accounts or credit cards. The passports were still in the safe. Your car only had a quarter tank of gas. Plus the kids were at a sleepover next door." She looked at me. "But you were ready with a loaded shotgun." It was an old shotgun that belonged to my father. The shells were old and not very powerful. "So you think you have a point?" I asked. "Yes. Some could argue that you planned to catch your wife by surprise. You lured her into a trap. I know you sent your brother to tell Lisa you were taking the kids and leaving." "I did not do that," I replied. "My brother wanted to talk to Lisa about the divorce and custody. I did not know what he would say. You knew Lisa would not let you take the kids. You were hoping this would make her break the restraining order. That's my second point. The restraining order might have been based on false reasons. You know you are dreaming if you think this will work. Well, I can try. Your brother Tommy was in the house before the police got there. He is not the one who hurt you to make it look like your wife and her friend caused your injuries. If I can prove that, then the restraining order and everything else will seem doubtful. It will create some uncertainty. Nice try, but phone records will show my brother was not in the house and arrived only a minute or two before the police did. Tommy would pass any lie detector test on that." That part was true, I thought. Do I seem like someone who would let himself be a punching bag? I didn't say that. But I wonder if a man who loves his children might try to use the system to his benefit. I leaned back in my chair and thought about how fair the system had been to my brother Tommy during his divorce and in trying to see his kids. She ignored my point. "The assistant state attorney has offered a deal to both Brandi and Lisa. Whoever talks first and testifies against the other will get lighter charges, less jail time, and probation. It is best for your wife, Lisa, to take this deal. But the state needs a win and wants to know you will not fight this and create problems. Why would I help Lisa? She betrayed me. She hurt our marriage in the worst way, with both intent and cruelty, as you legal people say. Vince, everything seems to be going your way. If Lisa is found guilty, you will have a strong case for custody of your boys. But think about this. Do you really want your kids growing up without a mother? Do you want Lisa to be in prison for many years? It only takes one person on the jury who dislikes men to ruin this case. If I win the trial for you, it won't matter to a divorce judge." I interrupted with as much sarcasm as I could. "Are you trying to scare me? I want to be clear because I can't tell. I want you to think about this in two ways. The first is practical. If you let Lisa plead guilty, she could get time served of 120 days in county jail, plus 4 years of probation. Then you would have custody of the kids. The second is compassion. Your boys will need a mother in the future. They will have times when they will need their mom for things like dating. They might seem fine now, but think about how they will feel later when they find out you sent their mother to prison. Lastly, consider your history together. You loved each other for over 14 years and Lisa gave you 2 wonderful kids. That must mean something." She paused. "Vince, are you a religious man?" "I was raised Catholic. We went to church every Sunday, fish on Fridays. I was an altar boy and all of that." Isn't there something about hating the sin, but loving the sinner? Lady, I do hate the sin, but loving the sinner is not going to happen. Then there's this. She pulled out a file from her briefcase and handed it to me. It was filled with medical terms about Lisa and her blood test results. I couldn't understand it. I put the file back on the table. I'm an accountant. I deal with numbers. Can you explain this in simple words? Sure. After the surgery, Lisa was very sad. That's not unusual. After being shot and waking up handcuffed to a hospital bed, she was put on watch for self-harm, and they did a full medical and psychological evaluation. Lisa was found to have depression and was a little manic, too. She probably has been like this for a long time. Her early menopause affected her hormones and might explain her odd, unusual behavior. We were lucky that a doctor is doing research in this area and checked her medical records. They have her on medication and are adjusting her dose to help her feel better. Great, if you're going to blame this on her hormones. I threw my hands up. No, it's not about that. This is not an excuse, but rather a reason for some of Lisa's strange actions and bad choices. She is still responsible. It's like a diabetic who doesn't go to the doctor for insulin. If this person drives but passes out from low blood sugar and crashes into a car full of nuns with babies, the diabetic is still responsible for what happened. Their choice started this chain of events. I stood up and walked to the window over the sink. The boys were running around the backyard, excitedly playing a game that involved candy. I thought about it. Lisa gave me 2 wonderful kids, but I didn't feel love for her anymore. Did I owe her something for the good times we shared? I turned back to the kitchen table. You can talk anyone into anything, Lisa. I won't stop you from getting a good deal. I had my own set of terms. I counted them off on my fingers. Lisa wouldn't fight the divorce. She could keep her car and 35% of what's left in our savings after paying the divorce court fees and my lawyer's costs. So there won't be much left. I agreed to keep her on my health insurance, but she would handle the deductibles. I would have full custody of our boys and decide when she could visit them. I would keep the house and the retirement savings. Deal? She said as she grabbed her briefcase and stood up. Send the papers to me, and I'll look them over. Lisa would get them at our next meeting. Brandi, however, did not have such a good outcome. She turned down any deals offered to her. Brandi believed that if she won her case, her original divorce agreement would still count. But the prosecutor had piled up charges against her: breaking and entering, conspiracy, attempted kidnapping of the kids, and burglary, among others. She was not found guilty of everything, but enough that Brandi ended up with a prison sentence of 7 to 10 years. We were told that if she behaved, she might get out in 4 years. Lisa served 120 days in county jail. She wrote to the kids often and asked me not to take them to visit her. Lisa didn't want them to see her in jail. At first, she sent me long letters that repeated a lot of what her lawyer said. She talked about how her medicine had helped with her sadness and that she was feeling better now. I never wrote back. I didn't see the point. Oddly, Tommy was her biggest supporter, always encouraging me to be nice to Lisa. He knew we wouldn't get back together, but wanted me to remember the good times we had. That's why I found myself parked outside the jail 120 days later, waiting for Lisa's release. She had lost a lot of weight and walked with a limp. One foot was still in a cast, and a big scar ran down her right cheek to above her eye. Her hair was cut short and had some gray. Lisa looked surprised when I walked up and touched her arm. "Come to gloat?" Lisa asked in a flat tone. "No," I said, taking her small gym bag. "I'm here to give you a ride." The jail worker said a bus would come in a few hours, stopping in the center of town near a place where many girls stayed when they were first out of jail. "Well, my car is right there if you don't want to wait," I said. Lisa shrugged and followed me to the car. After I opened the door and buckled her in, she handed me a piece of paper with an address on it. "This is the halfway house I can stay at if the YWCA is full," Lisa explained. I shivered at the thought of that area. "You better stay safe," I said, buckling up and driving away. Lisa didn't say much at first. Then, without looking at me, she said, "You didn't have to shoot me." I replied, "And you didn't have to cheat on me or try to take my kids." Breathing deeply, I asked, "Is this really how you want our first talk to go?" "No," she said, and then stayed quiet for the rest of the ride. Lisa slumped in her seat for most of the trip, but sat up straight when we drove into a part of town that looked familiar. "Vince, this isn't the way to the YWCA, is it?" "Yeah, it is, but I need to make a quick stop first." "Please, Vince, it's been a long day. I just want to settle down and figure out my next steps, find a place to live, and get a job." Lisa scoffed. "Getting a job is part of my probation. It's going to be hard in this economy. Who will hire an unskilled housewife? An ex-con?" I turned a corner and parked at a nice condo complex. Lisa's eyes widened when she saw her car parked in a spot. She inhaled sharply, seeing the boys and Tommy standing next to her car, holding big signs that read, "Welcome, Mom." Suddenly, Lisa went into panic mode, rummaging through her purse for makeup while adjusting her hair in the mirror. "Oh my God, no, Vince, I look terrible. I can't see the boys like this." "Relax," I said. "They've been waiting for you. They even washed and waxed your car." I parked and turned off the engine. The boys rushed to Lisa, pulling her out of the car and excitedly talking about their new place. It had a swimming pool right around the block. They took Lisa into a one-bedroom condo filled with her stuff from the house like bed sheets, dishes, and school pictures on the walls. It was a lot for Lisa, and she kept hugging the boys as tears streamed down her face. After a while, the boys got restless, asking if they could go play in the pool. Tommy offered to take them, leaving Lisa and me alone. "Vince, what is this place?" Lisa asked, sitting in one of her favorite chairs we moved from the house. "No catch, Lisa," I said, sitting at the kitchen table. "I can't let the mother of my kids live in a bad place. Mr. Alvarez, our boss, bought this place for his daughter years ago. She's married now, and with the market being so bad, he doesn't want to sell it. We paid the rent for the first 6 months. After that, it's on you," I added. "We're not together anymore, and we won't be. But we are connected by the boys, whether we like it or not." "Oh my God, I don't know what to say." Tears filled her eyes. "Thank you, this really helps. It gives me time to find a job." I started looking at my hands. Tommy thinks it's great that all the boys and I live together, but it feels a bit too rough around the edges. We live like bears in a house full of furniture. This made Lisa laugh. Anyway, I kept going. We really need a woman's touch to help us out. The boys all help out too. But last week, Tony threw his red baseball jersey in the wash with Tommy's white boxers. Tommy may be cool about his manliness, but having pink underwear was too much for him. "What are you saying, Vince?" Lisa sat at the edge of her chair. I replied, "We want to make you a proposal. You could be like a den mother for us, keeping things in check. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, anything you want to help with. It's all legal. I even made a contract with tax ID and everything." Lisa's eyes went wide. "So I get to see my kids every day?" "We can talk about your hours later, but yes," I said. "The house is just a 3-minute walk around the corner." Things were going well. "Oh, that's wonderful." Lisa jumped up and hugged me tightly. At first it felt nice, but then memories of that night hit me and my body stiffened. Lisa didn't seem to notice. "When can I start?" was her only question. And that's how it went for the next 2 years. Lisa got her own key and came over every morning before the boys woke up to make them breakfast and pack their lunches. She left after putting them to bed and stayed around for a bit. At first I felt uneasy around her, and I think she noticed. The good news was the house was always tidy and everyone had clean clothes. There were a few bumps along the way as the boys learned to put the toilet seat down. Tommy's dog Candy and Lisa took some time to get used to each other. Candy was protective of the boys and a bit scared of Lisa at first, but with enough treats, she warmed up. After a week of dog treats, we even saw Candy wagging her tail when Lisa walked in. Lisa was only away for meetings with her probation officer, working on her leg rehab. She still walked with a bit of a limp. Lisa also started taking classes at the community college, both online and during the day when the boys were at school. She came to all the boys' games and school events, even joining us for church on Sundays. The boys started calling her Aunt Mom. I encouraged Lisa to find her own way, but she said, "Vince, I'm almost 40, an ex-con, and on meds because I can't handle everything. Plus, I've got this scarred face. I know how people look at me when they think I'm not watching. I read somewhere that a woman over 35 has a better chance of being on a hijacked plane than finding a man." She laughed. "I wish I had those odds, especially since I had a good guy like you." I told her, "Lisa, we both need to move on. You have so much to offer. Neither Tommy nor I want you to feel stuck here forever." I could see she was shy about her looks. She got rid of all the clothes that showed off her legs, which she used to be proud of. Now Lisa wouldn't wear shorts or a bathing suit, even when taking the kids swimming. She always dressed in baggy sweatpants and never got in the water, sticking with long pants or long dresses that nearly reached the floor. Memories of Lisa leaving that day faded a bit, but I still didn't have feelings for her, just like anyone feels toward a good friend. Then it happened. Tommy had become quite popular with the local single moms. Most of them just wanted a good time and some fun. Tommy was never serious, but he was always polite. He was the go-to guy for community events and fun nights out. One Saturday, Tommy took the boys to a friend's birthday party. I had just finished yard work and was in the shower. I heard the bathroom door opening. Lisa's voice came through the steam. "I'm just putting clean towels on the rack. I'll be out of here in a minute." I replied, lathering up my hair. "Come on, Vince. It's not like I've never seen you naked." I muttered back, "Yeah, fair enough," while washing up. Moments later, I felt a cold breeze cut through the steam and heard the shower door closing. I sensed someone there for just a second before a soft body pressed against my back, arms wrapping around my waist. "What the heck?" I gasped, trying to rinse soap from my eyes and turn around at the same time. A woman was behind me, and a soft chin rested on my shoulder. Then Lisa whispered in my ear, "Vince, please. I've waited so long for this." I quickly left the bathroom. "Lisa, listen. I used to love you." I felt her stiffen. "You may be the mother of my kids, but this could be a huge mistake. I can't love you like that anymore. We have too much history. It would be best if we found other ways to live. Let me talk to Tommy. I know our boss, Mr. Alvarez, needs someone to help his mom. You'd get free room and board and could still go to school. Plus, they have a pool and the kids could visit any time." "No, Vince, please. I just need this right now. It has nothing to do with you or the kids." That phrase sent shockwaves through me. I sat up straight and moved to the edge of the bed. I remembered Lisa saying that line to me while she was wearing tight jeans and putting on lipstick with her high heels in this very room. The image was so clear that I blinked and rubbed my eyes to make sure it wasn't real. It was the last time I heard those words from her. I really needed this in my life. You have to understand, it's not about you or the kids. We were in this same room when you were getting ready for a date. That date ended our marriage. I think I was sitting on this bed. Lisa tried to cover her legs with the sheets because she didn't want to show her scars. She hugged me from behind and rested her head on my shoulder before saying, "I'm not a bad person, Vince." I nodded. I knew the old saying, "You're a good person who did a bad thing." That was a long time ago. I get it doesn't make it right. But it wasn't really me back then. I wish it wasn't me back then, but it was. "Vince, I go to church with you every Sunday. Can't you forgive and forget?" It isn't just about forgiving and forgetting. It's about trust. "Lisa, things have been better between us, but once bitten, twice shy." Tears were falling on my shoulder. "Okay, Vince, I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. I guess it's too much to ask after all we've been through. But I don't want to lose what I have with you and the boys. Please, let's keep things the same. Let's keep it simple." I thought for a few moments and said, "Okay, that works for me." Lisa got off the bed and began to leave. Did we ever get back together? That depends on how you see it. We didn't remarry, and Lisa still has her own little place. The boys love the pool. Lisa sleeps over if there's something happening late at night. Her confidence grew when she was asked out a few times, but surprising to me, she turned those dates down. Lisa says she likes our setup and won't mess it up. As for me, I have my wonderful kids, a great brother, nephew, and a dog, plus fresh clothes. Life is too short to worry about other things. Now let's check out Lisa's side. "Wow, this woman is something else," he said. "I haven't had anyone like this before. Is she going to be with me next?" came a voice from the front seat. Another voice replied, "I don't know. Just focus on driving while I enjoy the ride." If you are wondering how a married mother of two ended up in a car doing something unexpected, my ex-husband Vince got some facts right. But many issues were due to miscommunication and some health problems on my part. I'm not saying everything was my husband Vince's fault. A lot could have been avoided. Like with many things in life, it's easy to see clearly after the fact, and we all wish we could go back and change things. I needed a time machine a month before that date. but I found myself in that car 3 weeks earlier. Vince and I were in bed. Tommy, his brother, had come over that evening to borrow money for his kids' shoes. Tommy was really hurting after his divorce from Brandi. She was making it hard for him, taking his money and trying to keep him from seeing his sons. Vince was always in a bad mood after talking to Tommy about his ex-wife. I was happy when he said Tommy was going to install a ceiling fan and a new water heater. My husband wasn't great at fixing things. "Sounds like we got lucky there," I said, fluffing my pillow. Tommy didn't get a good deal with Brandi. Vince slid closer to me. I think what I said next started a big problem. "Well, it's not all Brandi's fault." Vince sat up. "What do you mean Brandi cheating on my brother isn't her fault?" I thought for a moment, trying to explain this well. "Yes, Brandi was wrong to cheat. There's never a reason to cheat. But your brother acted too harshly. I grew up in a strict household. Everything was clear. We learned to follow the rules. Cheating was wrong, and I was the one who found out and confronted Brandi about it. When she refused to stop or tell Tommy, I called him right away. Still, I think Tommy overreacted after he found out. Vince disagreed, and I knew I needed to explain better. I said, the courts usually give kids to their mothers. Many studies show kids are better off with their mothers. No matter what you say about Brandi, she was a good mother." I thought that would help Vince see that being a good mother and taking time for yourself as a woman are different things. Vince replied, "Studies also show kids are better off with both parents. How does Brandi getting a divorce make her a good mother?" I was glad Vince brought up the divorce because that helped my side of the conversation. Brandi didn't file for divorce. Tommy did. She didn't want a divorce. I was puzzled by what Vince thought because he didn't get the divorce part right. "You know the stories, just like I do. Brandi wasn't even sorry. She kept seeing other guys and wanted Tommy to wait until she was ready to come back. How could the man I love not understand me sometimes? Is Tommy doing better now? It was just 3 guys. One was just a quick thing. Brandi said she was almost done anyway and wanted to go back to Tommy. That should have made things easier for Tommy. Instead, he was getting sarcastic. Vince always acted this way when he had nothing to support what he said. I tried to calm him down. "Vince, don't be so dramatic. It was just some bad choices. From what Brandi told me, she wasn't happy. Remember after Vince Jr. was born? I had a hard time and felt sick for 2 months. I knew you had needs, so I gave you a pass to be with someone else. I even thought about some of the women at Tony's school to help you out. I thought that would clear things up. I believed Vince knew I loved him enough to do anything for him. I showed it with actions, not just words. Lisa, I love you, but sometimes you drive me crazy," he said. He brought up our wedding vows. Those promises to only love each other, through good times and bad. I took those vows seriously. "You said cheating is never okay. Are you saying it's sometimes all right? Because I don't agree." I was shocked Vince thought I would change my feelings about cheating. Didn't I show him with Brandi and Tommy? I figured I better make sure he understood. I still believed cheating was wrong. I thought maybe I could share my feelings in a way he could get. Brandi felt old and thought people only saw her as a mother and Tommy's wife. I didn't agree with her cheating, but understood why she did it. Surely Vince could think of it from her side, even just for a moment. "Lisa, how can you think Brandi was right to cheat but also wrong?" Vince asked. I realized he still didn't understand. I had to make it simple for him, like explaining it to a child. "Well, if Brandi had talked to Tommy, it wouldn't be cheating. If she shared how she felt, they could have worked on things together. Cheating wouldn't have happened. They could have communicated." "Lisa, really? If Brandi wanted to play different roles, Tommy would have joined in. But having sex with another guy? No way." Vince was finally starting to understand. He didn't say it was wrong, but he didn't argue with me either. I needed to make sure he and I were thinking alike. Tommy made his choice and has to live with it. We had to think, is Tommy better off now? Let's look at this clearly. Brandi did something wrong by not being honest with Tommy, but it was already done. We can't change the past. Tommy needs to think about the future for him and his family. Is he really better off now than if he had let go of a few careless moments that didn't harm him and only made Brandi feel better about herself? Okay, Lisa, how many partners should Tommy ignore? 3, 5, 10. Typical response. Everything seems to circle around that idea. I had to get Vince to stop thinking that way. Now you're being silly, Vince. Women and men are judged differently. I noticed some gray hairs last week and it really bothered me. Women are always judged on their looks. If Vince knew how I felt, maybe he would understand. Lisa, what's the big deal? You always look great. If gray hairs bother you, go to your favorite salon and pick a new color. There it was. Now Vince and I seem to be on the same page. If he encouraged me to feel good about my looks, maybe he'd understand other things that helped me feel good. I wanted him to grasp it a bit more. It's more than looks. After a certain age, women feel invisible. No one notices us. It shouldn't matter, but it does. Men and women are more equal than before, but until a woman can feel good about herself, even with changes, nothing will truly change. So cheating with some random guy will make it better? No way! Now Vince was back to comparing sizes. When will men grow up? It's like they never leave school. I knew I could get him to see what really mattered. Vince, it's not about the sex. If both partners know about it, it's not cheating. I reached out to him. You and I are amazing together, and you know that. I needed him to see that sex is just a part of feeling good. It's about that high of being wanted and appreciated. Lisa, you know Tommy cared for Brandi before it all happened, and the kids and I adore you too. But you're saying cheating is okay? Vince paused for a moment. Lisa, are you hiding something from the past? I felt Vince's mood drop, and then it dawned on me. Vince thinks I was unfaithful. He believes I went out with someone else and didn't tell him. If that were true, it would be betrayal. I need to fix this quickly and stop him from thinking that way. I moved closer to Vince and tried to bring his spirits up. Vince, I have never cheated on you, and I never will. I knew how to lift his mood. We had a great time together and then cuddled afterward. I wanted him to see how lucky we were, so I whispered in his ear, just think, Tommy is missing out on the fun with Brandi, just like we have, all because of some silly mistakes in the past. He can't change anything about it. I was glad we talked, but then Vince said, Lisa, you're really making me worry. He turned away from me. Brandi was asking Tommy for so much money that he would soon have nothing left. You can't get blood from a stone, he said as he turned off the light. Lying in bed, I thought about how lucky I was to be married to Vince and not Tommy. Through our talk, Vince brought up how Tommy believed Brandi needed time alone and how he saw that as cheating even when he was told ahead of time. Vince never said he would object to me needing space. I realized this showed Vince cared enough about me to let me have my freedom. He didn't say no, and that meant yes. I moved closer and wrapped my arms around my snoring husband. Finding what I wanted was both easy and hard. Finding a website with people from the local university was simple, but picking the right candidates was tricky. Many of the replies I got were rude and some were just silly. After 2 weeks, I narrowed it down and decided to chat online with 4 guys, then meet them in person at the mall food court. Then I picked 2 of them for a second meeting. One, named Randy, really stood out. Hi, Mrs. F, he said. He was a big guy, a communication student on a wrestling scholarship. He had trouble fitting in the small booth. I know you said your husband is okay with this, but I have an idea. What is it, Randy? I asked. I wore casual clothes, a scarf on my head, and big sunglasses. I felt like a secret agent. Pointing to a girl across the court, Randy said, She likes older guys. We could set your husband up with her to keep him busy. Are you suggesting I introduce your friend to my husband? I asked, peeking at the girl. She was a bit chubby, but cute with long, dark hair. No, Mrs. F, Randy said. We're just friends. Well, friends with benefits, but just friends. He went on to say she had some issues, but was okay with this plan. I am tall, almost 6 feet, with long legs I like to show off. Meanwhile, Amy was small and curvy. Some say men get bored of the same thing. Maybe I could treat Vince to Amy as a way to say thank you for being so understanding. Randy looked very different from Vince. While Vince was short and dark, Randy was tall with almost white blonde hair. My excitement began to grow. Deal, I said, and slid some papers across the table. These are forms for a medical exam to make sure you're healthy. Go to this clinic. I'll check the results online. You need to wear protection no matter what. Pick me up at 9:30 sharp the day after tomorrow, got it? Yeah, Randy replied. But if I'm getting a medical exam, why do I have to wear protection? Because I don't know what you and Amy do, I explained, while pointing at her. These terms are not open for discussion, are we clear? Sure, he said. I wrote down my address and phone number on a small card and handed it to him. I pulled him close and gave him a quick kiss. "Don't get lost and don't be late," I said before walking away. It was Friday night and things were getting complicated. At first I was excited to tell Vince, but then things changed. Last night, his car broke down and he came home in a bad mood, so I decided to keep quiet. The kids had a hard time calming down, and now, of all nights, Vince was late. Randy showed up early with a crowd of friends. Well, at least he was as eager as I was. I got Randy settled downstairs with a drink and some sports on TV. "Damn it, Vince," I muttered as I rushed to get ready. Why did he have to work late tonight? I slipped into a nice outfit, wanting to look good just in case something happened. When I heard Vince's car pull in, I had to suck in my stomach to fit into my skinny jeans. Minutes later, Vince came up the stairs just as I was putting on lipstick. "Lisa, who is the tall guy in our living room? What's going on with a date?" I wished I had more time to explain, but I knew Vince was easygoing and would understand. "His name is Randy. He's on the university wrestling team and studying communications," I said. "I'm sorry you got home late from work today. I wanted to talk to Vince before Randy came over, but things got busy, so I'll keep it short." "Please sit down," I said, patting the bed. Vince sat down on the flowered blanket. I thought to myself that everything was going smoothly. We had already discussed my feelings last month, and Vince seemed okay with it back then. Now I just needed to share my feelings again quickly. "Vince," I started, "I'm not getting any younger. I've been a good wife for over 12 years and a mother for more than a decade. I really need this right now. You understand that, right?" I felt a little guilty pushing him, so I added, "This isn't about you or the kids." But then I saw his face turn pale, like all the color had drained from it. "Randy? Why are we talking about him?" he asked, confused. "Brandi is different. I'm not like her," I insisted. "What she did was wrong. This isn't cheating because I'm being open about what's going on. We talked about it last month." But Vince didn't seem to understand. He said, "Lisa, you are just splitting hairs. This is cheating no matter what you call it. As your husband and the father of our kids, I'm telling you to stop this." He looked worried and said, "I think you need to see a doctor. This isn't you." Was he changing his mind? That couldn't happen? I remembered being a bit nervous when I first suggested getting Vince a partner while I was recovering from my surgery. I had to stay strong for him. I turned away from the mirror and focused on him. Well, it's too late now. Randy is already here. Vince shot back, "It's not too late until you walk out that door." And then he left the bedroom to go downstairs. I quickly grabbed my makeup and followed him. When I reached the stairs, I saw Vince and Randy standing facing each other, both looking tough like they were ready to fight. "Vince, stop this!" I shouted. "Randy, can you please wait in your car? I'll be right out." Randy hesitated, but then walked out the door. "Later, man." What was going on with Vince? He was acting like a child who didn't want to share his toys. I tried to stay calm. "Vince, I'm sorry you're upset. I see that things aren't going as planned." I took a deep breath. "We talked about this, and I thought you'd be more understanding." If he was going to act like this, maybe I could change his mind with a little promise. I knew what would make Vince smile. I pointed a finger at him and said, "How about this? When I get home, I'll give you a night you won't forget." I tried to be playful, turning my back to him, but he didn't react. "No, thank you," he muttered, and I gasped. "Vince, you've never talked to me like that." He looked really angry. "What have I ever done that would make you think I'd be okay with this?" His voice was tight, and I knew he was really upset. I had never seen Vince this angry before. I knew I needed to compromise. "Fine," I said, throwing my hands up. "You win. Let me go this one time and you'll see it changes nothing. But if you're still upset when I get back tomorrow, I won't go out again until we talk about it." Vince didn't give in. He stood in front of the door. "Listen, Lisa, my offer is this. You stop this nonsense. Go back upstairs and we'll see a doctor and therapist tomorrow morning. If you walk out that door, it's over. Your choice." He pointed to the door, emphasizing his point. I felt that things were getting out of control. If being nice didn't work, I had to take a harder approach. Vince knew I meant what I said. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," I replied, grabbing my purse. "You love me and the kids too much, and I know you don't want to live like your brother." I glanced at myself in the hallway mirror. Perhaps I had gone too far with that last comment, but I decided to ease things up a bit. And even if something happens tonight, Randy is clean and I'll make him wear protection. There. Are you happy now? I thought this might help Vince feel better. Vince wasn't convinced. No, Lisa, I'm not happy at all, and I won't be happy in the future if you leave. He softened a bit, noting, I do love my kids, and I don't want to live like my brother. But if you walk out that door, my love for you goes out too. There was no use in trying to talk sense to him now. I could feel my own temper rising. I pushed past him to open the door. You know, Randy told me about this girl who he thinks is cute. He said she has daddy issues and I was going to set you up with her. But if you're going to act like this, then forget it. I stepped outside. The kids are in bed and dinner is in the microwave. You have my cell if there is an emergency. I regretted sharing the surprise about Amy, but Vince had made me mad. I left before either of us said anything we would regret. Soon I found myself at an old house for a party. At first it was fun. All the young people around me were full of energy, making the atmosphere exciting. Amy, the girl who had daddy issues, was chatting with me non-stop, asking a lot of questions about Vince. She was telling me about the party we were going to later. Even though I was a lot older than most of these kids, they were nice to me, and I was actually having a good time. Randy kept his hand on my waist a lot during the night, and we even shared a kiss when he saw me coming out of the bathroom. I said no when Randy asked to go to one of the bedrooms or to the back seat of his car. I didn't push him away, but I also didn't say yes when he said we could wait until the party. The party took place in a large empty warehouse outside of town. At first, the loud music, bright lights, and fun atmosphere were thrilling. It felt different dancing with Randy. He was taller than me, and I hadn't danced with someone like that since I got married to Vince. But after dancing for a while, my head started to hurt from the loud music and the smoke made my eyes water. I slipped through a door to get some fresh air and a little quiet. I was starting to feel tired and out of place. Suddenly, Randy came up behind me and started to nibble on my ear. His hands wrapped around my waist and started touching me everywhere. Randy smiled and pulled me close, kissing me. I thought, come on, Randy, just give me a second. This was not how I had thought my big night would go. You have protection, right? I asked. Shoot, I left it in the car. No glove, no love. I told him we needed to be careful. That's the rule. He grumbled something I didn't quite hear. I could see the desire and some anger in Randy's eyes, so I knew I had to calm the situation down. Hey, I'm not a toy here, but I can still make you feel good, I said, pushing his hands back to me. I hadn't touched another man since I married Vince. Randy was a bit bigger than Vince, which was expected because he was taller and weighed more. Come on, big guy, I encouraged him. I stifled a yawn and really wished I had stayed home. At least I thought someday Vince and I would laugh about this. He leaned down and gave me a nice kiss. That was great, he said. You're doing great. Sure, I thought as I returned his kiss. It took a while, but we finally gathered all of Randy's friends and headed home. I was in the back seat of his car. A guy named Troy was driving with Amy in the front seat. Randy and I were kissing again, but I didn't really care and kept checking my watch. I would be home soon, and this night would just be a memory. The only good thing was that I now knew I didn't want any more nights like this. Vince would be happy to hear that. Oh no, Vince. He was upset when I left. I needed a way to explain to him and get him to understand that nothing happened. He might not be too happy about the kissing, but I was sure that his favorite meals and some quality time would cheer him up. But would he believe me? I needed more help. A witness? Randy, wait, I said, pushing him away. I need you to do me a favor. I stopped his hand and explained, I need you to come to my door and tell Vince that nothing happened. Just let him know we didn't have sex. Well, that's true enough, Randy laughed. Not for lack of trying, though, but what do I get out of it? I saw that hungry look in his eyes again. Amy tossed some protection from the glove box. She handed a package to Randy and teased, Hey, are you going to do it with her right here in the back seat? Why not? Randy said with a grin. Come on, no deal, I replied. My mind was racing for a solution. If I had sex with him now, it would ruin everything. We can't just lie to Vince. Then how about we just, do something else? Randy offered. I'll do whatever you want. Amy joined in, saying, I'll just help too. No way, I thought. I have to find a way out of this. How could I get Randy to talk to Vince without losing my standards? "Here's an idea," I said. "How about you let me do something, but no sex? That way, it's not what you think." Brandi thought for a moment and said, "You have some strange rules, but okay, I can go with that." I was feeling pressed for time, so I tried to act quickly. Amy seemed to be watching closely and was sharing what she saw with Troy, who was driving. "Wow, Lisa," Brandi said, sitting back. "That was amazing! Hey, Brandi!" Amy shouted. "Are you saying she's better than me?" Brandi paused for a breath, then said, "That's a hard call." Amy didn't seem too upset and turned to me. "Lisa, do women your age like this?" I took a moment to think. "Amy, women my age don't talk about that stuff openly." As we reached my house, Brandi and Troy were still with me. Troy was grumbling that he wasn't getting any attention like Brandi was, but Brandi silenced him. We had left most of Brandi's friends in the other car. They were excited to go to another party. I was relieved to see the lights on at my house. Vince must still be awake, so I wouldn't have to wake him up. "Your boyfriend isn't going to come out here with a gun, is he?" Troy joked. I laughed and said, "No, Vince is too easygoing for that. I made my husband get rid of all the guns when our kids started walking. He still has an old shotgun from his dad, but I don't think it even works anymore." I put my key in the door, but it was locked. A police officer from the metro stepped outside. "Are you Lisa, Vince's wife, who lives here?" she asked. "Yes," I replied. "Where is Vince? Why are you here? Where is my husband?" I felt anxious. "Did he have an argument with anyone here tonight?" She looked at Brandi and Troy. "Yes, we had a little argument," I answered. "But why does that matter? I won't answer any more questions until you tell me where my husband is." Then she told me, "Your husband is at the hospital recovering from injuries." I stopped listening after I heard Vince injured in hospital. I turned to run to my car. The officer grabbed my arm, spun me around, and handcuffed my wrist. "What are you doing?" I yelled, trying to break free. "I need to see my husband." Brandi stepped in and pushed the officer away. "Let her go. She hasn't done anything." The officer regained her balance and told Brandi to back off. Troy moved in and pushed the officer. She elbowed Troy in the stomach and he staggered back, groaning. Brandi held on to the officer and told her to relax. But Troy was ready to hit her. The officer stomped on Brandi's foot. Brandi released her and grabbed his foot, stumbling into Troy. Just then, the screen door flew open, tearing off its hinge. Tommy, Vince's brother, charged through the door and tackled Brandi and Troy like he used to do with his football players. The three of them fell through the porch railing and landed on the lawn. Tommy got a few good hits in, but then Brandi wrapped his arms around him to hold him down. Brandi and Troy started hitting Tommy on the ground. The lady cop was on the radio calling for backup and joined the fight. "I don't have time for this!" I yelled. "My husband needs me!" I walked around the fighting men, trying to get to my car while pulling out my phone to call Vince. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my body that made me fall to the ground. It felt like the time I stuck a fork in the toaster when I was a kid. As the pain faded, I turned to see the lady cop holding a strange device. "Stay down! Don't move! You are under arrest!" she shouted. A wire shot out and hit me. I looked back at the officer. Tommy was still on the ground trying to protect himself from Brandi and Troy's kicks. Then, with a loud growl, Candy, Tommy's Doberman, burst out the door and attacked Brandi and Troy. She was moving so fast, bits of fur and fabric were flying everywhere. Troy tried to escape, but Candy bit him and he ran for the car. Brandi was also backing away quickly, but not fast enough. Candy bit him hard in a sensitive area, and he screamed like a girl. More of Brandi's friends came and tackled the female officer. I tried to crawl away from the chaos, but one of them stepped on my leg. Tommy was putting up a strong fight, but he was losing. The lady cop was struggling against Brandi's friends as well. Suddenly, I heard a loud shout from next door. A group of young men with short hair charged across my yard like a team in battle. They jumped into the fight with Brandi and his friends. Unfortunately, I got stepped on again. "Please let this nightmare end," I prayed, but I couldn't look away from the fight. Candy had let go of Brandi and was now snapping at anyone near Tommy. I saw Rodriguez, one of the young men from next door, take down one of the guys who was on the female officer. I couldn't believe he was here. He was supposed to be in the army. Vince had gone to his farewell party. Vince and Tommy had coached him in football. Brandi got back up and tried to grab one of the guys, but it didn't work. He got hit in the face and cried out. More punches flew, and Randy was thrown into my rose bushes. Great. I had spent all year getting those roses to bloom, and now they were ruined. The young men were easily taking down Randy's friends. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, a ton of police cars showed up with their lights flashing and sirens blaring. They didn't even stop at the curb. They drove right onto my lawn. "Everyone, get down on the ground!" they shouted through loudspeakers, swinging batons at anyone moving. Tommy was trying to pull a snarling Candy into the house. He shoved her inside and closed the door, but a police officer yanked him back onto the lawn with a swing of his baton. I ducked to avoid being hit and got stepped on yet again. I remembered that Vince was hurt and needed my help, so I started to walk away carefully. I thought no one would notice me leaving in all the chaos. I was almost at the garage when I felt a terrible shock again. I was still catching my breath when that female police officer held a strange weapon and put handcuffs on me while reading my rights. I had never done anything wrong before, so going to jail was all new and very frightening. I could deal with the uncomfortable situation and lack of privacy, but what drove me crazy was not knowing what was happening. What about Vince? Was he okay? Did he hurt himself? Did he think about ending his life? No, I thought. Vince was a good Catholic. He would never do something like that. But more questions made me uneasy. Who was taking care of my kids? Not knowing was driving me mad. I learned about my charges the next day during a bail hearing. I was shocked to hear there was a restraining order against me. They thought I hurt Vince. I couldn't go home or be near my husband or kids. I knew this was all a big mistake. If I could just talk to Vince, I could fix everything. But I was stuck. I couldn't see him or my kids until things were cleared up, and I couldn't clear things up without talking to them. It felt like a nightmare because I wasn't a flight risk, and this was my first problem with the law. After 2 days, I managed to get out of jail. There was an ATM in the lobby, but I was scared when our credit cards didn't work. Luckily, I found an old credit card I saved for emergencies. The cash advance had high interest, but Vince and I would pay it back once I figured everything out. When I finally got out, I felt awful. I had worn the same clothes for 3 days. My jeans had missing buttons, so I had to hold them up. I hadn't showered and ate only bologna sandwiches and milk. Each day, a guard came to get my name. I thought he was there to help me get home. Instead, he handed me divorce papers. I sat on the steps in shock and cried. How did everything go so wrong? Who was causing all these crazy thoughts in Vince's mind? It took me 6 hours to get home because I got lost twice on the confusing bus routes. I ended up walking the last mile. I even threw away my uncomfortable shoes after just a short distance. When I got to the house, no one was home and none of my keys worked. There was a legal envelope taped to the door with the restraining order and a note from Vince telling me my car was parked down the street. I found my car filled with most of my stuff. I felt drained and deeply sad. As I started the engine, I noticed Vince had left me a full tank of gas. I hit an ATM to take out some cash and checked into a motel. I knew I needed to talk to Vince, but first, I needed some sleep. The best way to reach Vince would be through our boys. I thought I could talk to him when he picked them up from school. I was so tired that I fell asleep without even taking a shower. When I called Randy, he wasn't happy to hear from me. He said if he knew it was me, he wouldn't have picked up. I told him I needed a temporary cell phone because mine was canceled. Randy said Vince was claiming we attacked him that night and had photos to prove it. I assured Randy that nothing like that happened. Even if I didn't face jail time, it could ruin my chance at school. I never expected Vince to react like this. But if I could just see him, I knew I could make him see it was all a mistake. I left many messages on both our home phone and his cell, trying to explain, but he wouldn't answer. We needed to talk to him in person. Randy, you were there that night. You can back me up that nothing happened. No physical contact at all. Randy said we should catch him when he was at my son's school during lunch. What do you want from this? I asked. Are you hoping for a favor? He replied. No way, I said. It hurts just to wear my underwear. I explained I wanted to make sure this whole mess went away. Randy agreed. I have a plan. Vince and I had an agreement. He changed everything suddenly, and if we can't sort this out, I'll make this divorce painful for him. I mentioned taking the kids, getting the house, and making support payments so high he would struggle to pay. Randy was surprised, but I told him I didn't really want to, but I would if it came to that. It was just one night. Vince loves our boys. He wouldn't give them up easily, I said, but if he knows I'll take them away, he will understand. I promised Randy I would only do this once. He seemed unsure, but understood I had principles. Do you want the address? I do, he mumbled. Can you please text it to me? I let out a big sigh and thought, Vince, I really hope you see how hard this is for me because of you. The meeting with Vince at the school went wrong right from the start. I thought if we surprised him, Vince would listen and try to fix things. But he wouldn't even let me talk. He tricked Randy and me by bringing a bunch of police officers in our minivan. They arrested me using a fake restraining order, and Randy got arrested for threatening Vince. That was it for me. Vince had used up his last chance. I was determined to make him pay. The problem was I was stuck in jail and getting bail was tough. My parents had passed away long ago and I had no brothers or sisters. It's true that when you break up, your friends often take sides. No one was willing to help me. Everyone was on Vince's side. Good old St. Vince. Coach Vince could do no wrong, I thought to myself. That big liar was going to get what he deserved soon. The next day, I was shocked to see who posted my bail. It was Randy, who used to be Tommy's wife. She looked great and hugged me tightly when I stepped out into the lobby. Close your mouth, Lisa, Randy teased. You might catch flies. I smiled and said, You look amazing. Thank you for bailing me out, but I don't know what to say. I'm a bit surprised. Is it about Tommy? She asked. It wasn't really your fault. Tommy was the one being awful. I guess I'm glad I found out he was so selfish and didn't care about how I felt. Randy turned around to show off her clothes. I like this outfit. I got a part-time job at a little shop downtown. It's not much money, but I enjoy it. Tommy is paying for how he treated me for years. I love the shop. I get great deals, and the customers are fun. You look great, Randy, I said. Then I hesitated. I hate to ask, but could you lend me some money to get my car out of impound and pay for a hotel? Don't be silly. You're coming home with me. Money is no problem. I'll get more from Tommy. Randy took my arm and led me to her car. As we walked, she laughed and said, Isn't it funny? Tommy borrows money from Vince, so really Vince is the one paying for all this trouble, just like he should. Besides, we're both in the same situation now. At the car, I asked, What do you mean we're in the same situation? You know, getting caught, having fun, cheating. Some people say I was wrong, but I wasn't cheating. Vince knew I wanted to date. We did what we could to make each other happy. At least, we used to. Really? I said, surprised as she put on her stylish sunglasses. I thought you and Tommy were meant to be. Tommy thought I belonged only to him, she said. I can't believe Vince was okay with you seeing other guys. If Tommy had been more understanding, we might still be a family, and he would have had a happy wife. Vince never said yes, I explained, but when I told him what I needed to feel good, he didn't argue. He just ignored me. It was frustrating because I had a date planned for weeks. Then suddenly he changed his mind and expected me to just forget it. That's selfish of him, Randy agreed. I even set up a cute girl for him to meet. Thanks, Vince, for messing everything up. Wow, you sound like the perfect wife, I said. Do you think Vince would have liked that? You would think so, I continued. But when I offered to let him join me later, he turned it down. Can you believe that? I've never heard of a guy saying no. So, how was your date? Randy asked. Did you have fun? I don't think I should do it again. The whole night was awful. At first, it felt good to be with younger guys. My date was some musclehead, though. It was awkward, and I had a headache the whole time. I get it, Randy agreed. Most guys are terrible. I'd rather be alone, but I enjoy the attention. At least you had some fun, I said. We barely kissed like we were teenagers, and that didn't feel great either. I just wanted him to tell Vince that nothing happened. Don't worry, Randy said. Once you get that big settlement from Vince, all your worries will fade. You should take your share of Vince's 401k and go on a cruise. I did that after my divorce from Tommy, and it helped me feel better. Randy got into the car and we drove off. She lived in their house, which Tommy still paid for after their divorce. It was a big house, and my nephews, Tommy Jr. and little Frank, were happy to see me. They were still dealing with the changes from their parents' separation. I felt like Brandi wasn't giving my nephews the attention they really needed. My nephews were wonderful, but sometimes they made me miss my own boys even more. I could see my kids at school from far away with binoculars. Some days I felt so sad I could barely get out of bed. Other days, I was so angry I wanted to yell at Vince. Things were not going well with my divorce. My hearing about the fight on our yard was still months away, so I tried not to think about it. My main worry was the divorce. Vince's lawyer was playing tricks, and I wasn't getting any money. I had gone through 2 lawyers, but they quit when I couldn't pay them. No one wanted to take my case unless I could give them money up front. That jerk Vince got the restraining order against me renewed twice. I just wanted to kick him for keeping me away from my kids. When I found a new lawyer, I planned to beat Vince in court. Tommy was trying to avoid paying Brandi what he owed her. It took a month for Brandi to take Tommy to court, and things did not go well for her. The court stopped Tommy's payments, cut the child support, and made Brandi pay the mortgage on the house. She had to work full-time at a small fashion shop, but it didn't pay much. Today I talked to Vince. Brandi said to try to get him to convince his brother Tommy to go back to work. No luck. I thought Vince was the smarter one. Remember how he dealt with those guys at the Christmas party after they got married? I laughed at the memory. I had drunk a lot that night. Come on, Lisa, I joked. Those strong guys were all over you and you liked it. Oh, it was just harmless fun, she replied. But Lisa, you were really close to one of them, I insisted. I wasn't, but Brandi laughed. You were having a great time. I felt embarrassed. Well, Vince didn't like it, especially since that guy was keeping you away from him. That guy was much shorter than Vince. I remember Vince getting back at them. He told those guys their cars were being towed. Lisa asked, did Vince really do that? I was still a bit drunk, but we were young. It had taken me 2 weeks to get Vince back into the holiday spirit. Sounds like Vince, Mary said. He always tells the boys that they need to use their brains. Sometimes he's too clever for his own good. The day before my court hearing, I found a new lawyer who just graduated. I promised him a big chunk of Vince's retirement money. When Brandi came in from her job, she was excited. Lisa, one of our customers is a court reporter. She said your case is with Judge Reynolds. Brandi was rubbing her hands in happiness. Judge Reynolds looks like my grandfather, but he knows how to be fair in cases like ours. He really understands what a woman goes through as a wife and mother. He knows we handle a lot of stress raising kids. Do you think I can get my kids back, the house, my money? I asked. He will likely make a fair decision, just like with Tommy's case before yours. That case was a mess. The mother came in drunk and passed out during the hearing, but Judge Reynolds still gave her everything she needed. I clapped my hands. He understands what I need, I said. You should start thinking about a vacation, Brandi said, getting a bottle of wine from the fridge. That evening, Tommy came over. Brandi had already drunk some wine, while I had just started my first glass. Tommy was trying to get me to make a deal with Vince. Forget him, I said, trying to stay calm. I always liked Tommy, but I was angry. I'll take everything from your brother. Vince thinks he can hide from the law, but he can't. I was fired up. Lisa, please listen, Tommy said. Vince is not like me. If you push him, he might do something really bad. Like what? Get a restraining order against me? I replied, feeling confident. Just be careful, Tommy warned. If you keep this up, you might lose everything. He continued. Vince could take the kids and run away. As we talked, I parked my car quietly in the driveway. It was very late, and Brandi and I planned to take my boys to her house. I knew that if Vince thought he could break the law and take my kids, I wouldn't let that restraining order stop me. Somehow, Brandi had gotten a house key from Tommy. I went towards the boys' room while Brandi went to check if Vince was still sleeping in the main bedroom. The boys' room was locked. I was angry at Randy for leaving and told me the master bedroom was empty. I pressed my ear against the door and heard Vince's voice. I was furious now. I started banging on the door. Vince, open this door! You can't take my kids! There's no way my kids are going to be hiding out in some faraway place during a drug war! Brandi joined me, pounding on the door too. I was getting angrier by the moment. Vince, if I have to break this door down, I will! I yelled. Open up now! If I get in there, I will make you pay! I knew Vince was stronger than me, but I was determined he wouldn't leave with my children. In my anger, I started kicking the door. With a few hard kicks, the thin wood splintered, and my foot went through the door, scratching my leg badly. That hurt, Vince! I yelled. I kicked harder now. I felt full of energy, like I was out of control. I'm going to get you! I shouted at the door. It felt like I was a raging bull. Brandi kicked the bottom of the door, too. The door was breaking apart. Small holes grew bigger. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. The bottom of the door exploded. It felt like someone hit my legs with a hammer. I fell to the floor. The door was gone, and dust rushed out from the broken wood. I saw Brandi on the floor next to me. Pain hit me harder than I had ever felt. Everything went dark. When I woke up, my body was covered in bandages, and I was handcuffed to a bed. I felt hopeless and wanted to give up. My future looked grim. I could end up in prison, away from my kids. I heard people say it could have been worse. The shotgun I was shot with had old shells, so it was less powerful. Still, I fell into a deep sadness and had to be watched for my safety. A team from a big company was doing trials for new medicine at the hospital, and my doctor told them about me. After a few weeks of trying different medicines and talking to a therapist every day, I started feeling a little better for the first time in my adult life. I didn't have those awful dark days or wild ups and downs anymore. I wasn't feeling great, but I didn't wish to die anymore. One day, while eating what they called lunch, I heard a quick knock on my hospital door. A woman came in, holding a briefcase and a big stack of papers. She sat down next to my bed. I quickly covered my legs, which were wrapped in plaster. I felt shy about my injuries, even around the nurses. "Lisa, I'm from the public defender's office," she said without greeting me. "Here's the deal. You need to testify against Brandi. The state agreed to a few months in jail and 4 years of probation." She tossed a folder on my bed and looked for a pen in her pocket. "I can't testify against Brandi. She's my friend," I protested. "This is not about friendship. You need a lawyer," she insisted. "Lucky for you, that's me. Sign here, here, and here." She pointed to spots on the big documents in my lap. "If you plead guilty now, you will serve a short time in jail. If we go to trial, it will take much longer, and you'll end up stuck in jail for years." I thought of my husband trying to divorce me. If I plead guilty, I might lose my kids. "You're going to lose them anyway," she said, sounding patient like she was talking to a child. "At least this way you can see them again by summer." I thought about what she said. What if I'm in jail during the divorce? Vince will take everything. He's decent enough, believe it or not. I even told him some nice things to make him easier on you. She chuckled. "I have 3 ex-husbands, so I know this stuff." She pulled out more papers from her pile. "Here's the divorce agreement. You keep your car and some money. He gets the house." "What about my boys?" I asked, worried. "That's for you and Vince to work out once you get out." "I'm not a marriage counselor, but I suggest being nice when you talk to him. He never understood my moods before. I doubt he will now. One time, my second husband called me moody so often that he bought me a mood ring. When it turned green, I was happy, and red when I was upset. It left a big red mark on his forehead when he made me mad." She laughed at her story. I laughed too, even though I felt overwhelmed. "This is a lot to take in. Can I have some time?" "You have until I get out of this chair and walk to that door," she replied. "I have many other cases. Brandi is getting the same deal. If she agrees before you, you won't have to decide. The state will control everything about your life while you're in jail." I was still trying to understand all the news I was getting. "Can you please be a little kind? I'm in the hospital." "Princess," the nurse said, "do you want kindness? Look between rude and sorry in the dictionary. You won't find it here. This is not fair. I just wanted to have some fun. I wanted to feel young again. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but that jerk Vince turned on me. He told a bunch of lies. I pulled the blanket away to show my legs. The idiot shot me. Now Vince gets everything. How is that fair?" The lady lawyer sighed at my outburst. "I know that they're giving you a lot of medicine to feel better, and you have therapy sessions." She scooted her chair closer. "But let's skip the fancy talk. You wanted to cheat on your husband and told yourself it was fine. You were going to go through with it, even if he didn't agree. You were caught, and now you have to deal with the mess you made. Your husband's story is nonsense, but you have to face the truth, not what you wish things were. No one got hurt from what I wanted. That's not fair. I'll say it again. Princess, no one said life was fair, just blind. This isn't a crime show with a huge cast searching for the truth. This is quick justice, so you better deal with it now or lose out. It's time to make a choice." I sighed and reached for the pen. Brandi refused to take any offers. She still believed she could fix her life with Tommy and her alimony. Brandi wanted to sue Vince and his insurance for her injuries. Brandi had big dreams for her settlement money. The assistant state attorney was not pleased and added more charges. The jury found her guilty on most counts. Brandi was sentenced to 7 to 10 years in prison. She might get out in 4 years. I got divorced while I spent my 120 days in county jail. Most of the time was boring, just therapy and rehab sessions to break the dullness. I wrote long letters to my boys and even a few to Vince. As the days went by, I calmed down. I stopped being so angry at Vince. The medicine helped with that. Sometimes I even thought kindly of him. Not as a wife would, but more like how I felt about the father of my kids. The mood swings were gone. While I missed the energy and joy my boys brought me, I was grateful I didn't feel the deep sadness anymore. So I was surprised when Vince was there to pick me up when I got out. I thought he just wanted to rub it in. It was the weekend, so I couldn't access the divorce money until Monday. I thought about staying at the YWCA or a halfway house. I really didn't want to take the bus. So I accepted Vince's offer for a ride, but soon my anger returned. "You didn't have to shoot me," I said. Vince shot back, "You didn't have to cheat on me and say you'd take the kids and ruin me." I held back my words. This from him, the liar. Vince continued, "Lisa, is this really how you want to start our first talk?" I took a deep breath and tried the mental exercises from therapy. Vince was right. It didn't help to bring up the past. What mattered now was where we go from here. Besides, I needed to stay on good terms with him if I wanted to see my kids. I thought of everything I had to do. I needed to find a place to live, a job, and work around Vince's schedule to see my kids. I felt very tired. I slumped back in my seat and looked at the floor quietly while he drove. After a bit, I noticed we weren't going downtown. Vince said he had to make a stop first. I knew he was just trying to tease me. I told him I had a lot to do and asked him not to make it longer. I was in for a surprise. Vince and Tommy had rented me a small condo near my old home. The kids were there and I was overwhelmed. I hugged and kissed my boys as they showed me around my new place. It had all my old furniture, even pictures of my boys on the wall. Then I got another shock. Vince and Tommy wanted me to help take care of the house and the kids. It was a dream job. I would see my boys every day and be part of their lives. I didn't care about the pay. I only asked Vince when I could start. The next 2 years flew by and we settled into a routine. It went smoothly. The biggest challenge was Tommy's dog, Candy. That tough Doberman always stared at me with a growl. When I arrived at the house, I gave her some milk, bones, and treats, and soon she was my friend. Candy was protective of the boys. Woe to any salesperson who dared ring the doorbell. Between house duties, I took some online classes and went to the local community college. It took time to get used to the stares at my face. The incident had left a deep scar from my eye to my cheek. I could have had surgery, but the boys liked me just the way I was. I didn't need other people's attention to feel good about myself. Tommy was quite a hit with the ladies and always had dates. I admit I felt a bit jealous when Vince went out too. When Vince called me and asked if I could stay overnight while he was out on a date, it took a lot for me to hold back my feelings. One Saturday, Tommy took the boys to a birthday party. I could hear Vince singing in the shower, washing up after doing some yard work. He had a terrible singing voice. It sounded like a cat in trouble. I was in the bathroom putting in some clean towels. We had seen each other without clothes before, so I didn't feel shy. But when I peeked through the shower door, I felt butterflies in my stomach. Vince was still in good shape. Being a coach and running around with the kids kept him fit. I had stopped buying pizza and burgers for the boys. They could have treats, but no more endless snacks and ice cream. I wanted to make sure the kids stayed healthy. I thought Vince had stopped dating, but while doing laundry, I saw he was still seeing some people. I quickly took off my clothes. I felt nervous as I opened the shower door and walked into the steam. Vince had his back to me, rinsing out his hair. Before he could turn around, I told him how long I had been waiting for this moment. He looked surprised to see me. Then he told me that I was the mother of his kids, and it could never be the way I wanted. I knew we would never have the wild love we had when we first got married. I hoped for a mature love based on comfort and shared interests. We had both changed. I no longer needed others' attention to feel good about myself. I knew what was important in my life. It wasn't what others thought of me. I was startled when Vince started talking about me moving away and getting another job. I put my hand on his mouth and held him close, saying, "No, Vince, please, I really need this now. You have to understand, it has nothing to do with you or the kids. I couldn't give this up. It was my reason to get up in the morning. I loved spending time with the boys. They gave my life meaning. But when I said, I just need this right now in my life," Vince jumped back, looking shocked. He rubbed his eyes and stared straight ahead, clearly upset. He told me he remembered the last time I said something like that while getting ready for a date. The date that ended our marriage. I was shocked by his words. I struggled to remember exactly what I had said that night, but I could tell he could recall every detail. I didn't mean to remind him of that painful night. It was clear that he still felt hurt. When I first started taking care of Vince, Tommy, and the boys, he avoided being alone with me. I left right after putting the boys to bed since I could see how uneasy it made him. After a few months, I thought he had moved on. Now it was clear that he still hadn't healed. My words from that night had opened old wounds. I needed him to see that I had changed. Times were different now. "I'm not a bad person, Vince," I told him. "I know it's an old saying, but I'm a good person who did a bad thing a long time ago. It wasn't me back then." I hoped to appeal to his beliefs. "Vince, we go to church together every Sunday. Can't you forgive and forget?" But Vince wouldn't change his mind. "It's not about forgetting," he said. "It's about trust. Even if things are better now, I still remember the past." I knew I had to handle things carefully. I tried to calm him down. "Okay, Vince, I get it. I don't like it, but I understand. I guess I shouldn't expect things to go back to how they were, but I don't want to lose what we have now. Let's keep it simple." Vince paused, and I held my breath. "Okay, Lisa, that works for me." I let out a big sigh of relief. I got off the bed and walked to the bathroom. Would Vince and I ever get back together? Probably not like we used to. But I was happy with my life. I felt a boost to my confidence when one of my old teachers asked me out. For a moment, I felt that old thrill from being noticed. But it soon passed, and I politely declined. I didn't want to risk what I had now. I was closer to my boys and nephews than ever. I went to all their events, both school and sports, and I could even stay overnight when I wanted. My life was good. I had a healthy routine, great boys, and even a loving dog. What could be better than that? Hey, listeners, if you enjoyed watching this video and want to stay updated with our latest content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss out on what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video with Queen Cheating Tales.